Welcome to English Unlocked, the podcast where we have slow, honest conversations to help you feel more confident in English. I am Luna.
And I am Luca, and today we want to talk about something that happens to almost every English learner at some point.
You are with a group of people, maybe friends, maybe colleagues, and someone asks you a simple question. So, what did you do last weekend?
And suddenly your mind goes blank, not because nothing happened, but because turning a real experience into English feels surprisingly difficult.
You know the story, you lived it, but finding the words, the order, the right tenses, in the moment, that is a different challenge.
It really is, and I think the hardest part is not the vocabulary. It is the fear of getting lost halfway through.
Yes, starting a story and then losing the thread in the middle. That feeling of, where was I going with this?
Exactly. Today, we are talking about how to tell a simple story in English without panicking, without losing your place, and without feeling like you need perfect sentences.
We will share some real moments, some useful phrases, and some practical ideas you can actually use the next time someone asks you about your weekend or your week.
So if telling stories in English feels uncomfortable right now, stay with us. By the end, we think it will feel a little more manageable.
And before we jump in, here is a small question for you. When someone asks you to tell a story in English, what is the first thing you feel?
Is it excitement, nerves, a little of both? Let us know in the comments. We are genuinely curious.
Luca, can I start with something a little embarrassing?
Please do. I love those moments.
So, a few months ago, I was in a small group dinner and someone asked me what I did during a recent holiday. A simple question, and I just stopped.
Oh, I know that pause. You could feel the question just sitting there.
Yes, and in my head, I had so much to say. I went somewhere beautiful, something funny happened, I had a great meal, but when I opened my mouth, what came out was, it was nice.
It was nice. That is the answer that says everything and nothing at the same time.
Exactly, because nice was not wrong, but it was not the story I wanted to tell. The story was stuck somewhere between my memory and my mouth.
So you had the content, but the English structure was not ready in that moment.
That is a good way to say it. The content was there, the structure was not.
And I think that is really the problem, is it not? Most learners have plenty of things to say. The difficulty is building a clear path from the beginning to the end of the story.
Right, and when we do not have that path, we either say too little, like it was nice, or we say too much and go in circles.
Going in circles is very familiar to me. You start in one place, take a detour, forget your point, and then end somewhere completely unexpected.
Have you actually done that? Told a story and lost yourself completely?
I once started telling a story about a train journey. 15 minutes later, I was somehow explaining the history of a small town I passed through, and the person just looked at me like, wait, what was the original story?
Oh no, that is the most relatable thing you have ever said.
The train arrived fine, by the way. That part never came up.
So why does telling a story feel harder than, say, answering a direct question like, where do you live, or what is your job?
I think it is because a story has to move. It has to go somewhere. A direct question just needs one answer, but a story needs a beginning, something that happened, and some kind of ending.
And in English, especially when you are still learning, managing that movement uses a lot of mental energy.
Tenses are a big part of that. In a story about the past, you are often shifting between what was happening and what happened suddenly, and those two ideas need different grammar.
Right. And when you are nervous, you can forget which one you are in. You start with the past continuous, I was walking down the street, and then you switch to simple present without meaning to.
That jump in tense can feel very confusing to listeners and also to yourself.
So you start correcting yourself, and then you lose your place in the story, and then you feel embarrassed, and then the story just stops.
That is a painful cycle, and the embarrassment makes it harder, not easier, to find the next sentence.
I think there is also the pressure of being interesting, like you feel that your story needs to be funny or exciting or worth listening to.
And that pressure is unfair because you would not put that pressure on yourself in your first language.
Exactly. In your first language, you just tell the story. In English, you are also editing yourself while you speak.
It is like trying to cook a meal and write a recipe at the same time.
Yes, two things happening together that should probably happen separately.
So, let us talk about something practical. Because I think one of the most helpful things for learners is having a simple shape or structure they can follow.
A shape, I like that word. Not a script, but a shape.
Write not a script you memorize, but a shape you can feel. And the simplest shape for a past story is just three parts: the situation, the event, and the result.
The situation tells people where you were and what was happening. The event is the main thing that happened, and the result is how it ended or how you felt.
For example, a situation could be, I was at a coffee shop on Saturday morning. The event, my order was wrong and I got someone else's drink. The result, it was actually better than what I ordered, so I kept it.
That is a complete story in 3 sentences.
It is a short story, but it is a real story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an ending with a small surprise.
And crucially, you do not have to describe everything that happened before the coffee shop or everything that happened after.
That is the important part. A story does not need to contain your whole day. It just needs those 3 moments.
Can we say that again in a different way? Because I want learners to remember this clearly.
Sure, where were you? What happened? How did it end? Or how did you feel? Those 3 questions are your story.
And if you can answer those 3 questions, even in simple sentences, you have told a story.
A real one, not perfect, but real.
Okay, so we have a shape, but what about the language that connects the parts? Because I think one of the things learners struggle with is not just the events, but the words between the events.
Yes, the connecting words in English, these are sometimes called linking expressions or story connectors, but honestly, let us just call them the phrases that keep your story moving.
I like that phrases that keep your story moving. So what are some examples?
Well, to start, you can use something like, so, this happened last week, or actually, something interesting happened on Saturday.
Those openings are good because they signal that a story is coming. The listener knows to pay attention.
And then, to move from the situation to the event, you can use and then suddenly, or at some point, or even just and then.
And then is maybe the most powerful phrase in storytelling. It is simple, everyone understands it, and it creates movement.
It really does, and then says something is about to happen. Keep listening.
And for the result, the ending, you can use in the end, or so after that, or and that is why I will never.
And that is why I will never is a very satisfying way to end a story.
It creates a conclusion that feels like a lesson, even if the lesson is just, I will never order coffee without checking the cup first.
Luna, can I add one more phrase that I use a lot when I am telling a story, and I realize I have skipped some important detail?
Yes, please.
Oh, I forgot to mention. That phrase is so useful. It lets you go back, add a missing piece, and continue without the whole story falling apart.
Oh, I forgot to mention, that is a good one, because stories in real life are not always in perfect order, and this phrase gives you permission to go back.
Right? It also sounds natural. Native speakers use it all the time. It does not sound like a mistake.
Luca, what do you do when you are telling a story and you genuinely lose your place? Like, you forget where you were going?
Honestly, I pause. I give myself a second, and I have learned a few phrases that make the pause sound intentional.
Not like a failure, but like a natural part of the story.
Exactly. So one thing you can say is, let me think about how to say this. That is completely acceptable in any conversation.
And the listener waits. They are patient because you gave them a signal.
Another one is, sorry, where was I? Which sounds very natural and even a little friendly. It makes the conversation feel more human.
Oh, I like that one. Sorry, where was I? It sounds like something a friend says, not something a student in an exam says.
And the other person often helps you. They say, you were telling me about the coffee, or you were at the train station, and then you continue.
That is actually a really good point. When you give the other person a signal, they become a partner in the story. They want to hear the end.
Right. Losing your place is not the end of the story. It is just a pause in the middle.
I think learners sometimes feel that any disruption means the story is ruined, but it is not. Real conversations have these pauses all the time.
The person listening is usually not judging your grammar, they just want to know what happened next.
And that is a reassuring thing to remember. Most people are listening for the story, not for the grammar.
Luna, can you tell me a short story right now using the shape we talked about?
Okay, let me try. So, this happened about a year ago. I was at a small market near my apartment on a Sunday morning. That is my situation.
Perfect. Where were you? What were you doing? I can see it.
So, I was looking at some fruit, and I wanted to ask the person selling it how much something cost. And I asked the question in a language I was still learning. Very nervous.
Oh, good. What happened?
The person answered me, and I understood maybe 40% of what they said. But instead of panicking, I just smiled and said, I will take two. And it worked.
So you just moved forward. You did not stop to ask for a repeat. You just made a decision.
And the result, I went home with two very large vegetables I had no idea how to cook.
That is a perfect story. Situation, event, result. And the result had a little extra surprise at the end.
The vegetables were very good, actually. I found a recipe online.
Oh, so it ended well. Even better. Can we talk about something that I think makes people afraid of storytelling in English specifically? The fear of using the wrong tense.
Yes, past simple and past continuous. That is the most common area where learners feel uncertain.
So, just to put it very simply, past simple is for the main things that happened. I went to the market, I bought some vegetables, I talked to the seller.
And past continuous is for the background. What was already happening when the main event arrived? I was walking through the market when I saw the fruit.
I was walking tells us what was in progress. I saw tells us what suddenly happened inside that moment.
And if you mix them up sometimes, if you say, I walked through the market when I was seeing the fruit, the person will probably still understand you.
They will. The story does not disappear because of a tense error. The meaning is usually still very clear.
Right? And that is the important thing to remember. A story about the past with a few grammar mistakes is still a story. It still works.
I think the goal for a B1 learner is not perfect tense control. The goal is a clear story with the right general direction.
And sometimes the wrong tense in the right moment is still completely understandable. Context does a lot of the work.
Especially because the story shape is already telling the listener what kind of information to expect, so even small grammatical errors usually do not break the understanding.
That is actually quite reassuring.
It should be. Grammar is a tool, not a gate. You do not need perfect grammar to open the gate.
So, how does someone actually practice this outside of a classroom in real life?
I think the easiest way is to start very small. Do not try to practice with a long, complicated story. Start with a 2-minute story about something ordinary.
Something that actually happened this week, a small moment, not a big adventure.
Yes, maybe you went somewhere. Maybe something unexpected happened. Maybe you cooked something, and it did not go as planned.
And try to use the three-part shape. Where were you? What happened? How did it end?
You can even practice alone. Tell the story to yourself, out loud. It helps you find the shape before you need to use it with someone else.
Telling a story to yourself out loud sounds a little unusual, but it is genuinely effective. You discover where you get lost.
And then you know which part needs a little more preparation. The beginning, the transition, the ending.
For me, the beginning is always the hardest, starting the story. Once I start, I usually find the words.
That is true for a lot of people, so maybe the most useful thing to prepare is just the opening sentence.
Something happened last week. That opening can start almost any story.
And once you say those words, you have made a promise to the listener. They want to hear what happened. That momentum helps.
Momentum, that is a good word for it. The story carries you forward if you just begin.
I want to say something before we finish, because I think there is often a feeling that a simple story is not good enough.
Yes, that feeling that your story needs to be impressive.
But I do not agree with that. A simple, clear, honest story is a beautiful thing. It connects people.
And in English, especially at a B1 level, a simple story told clearly is much more powerful than a complicated story told with confusion.
You feel that connection when someone understands you completely, when they laugh at the right moment or they look surprised at the right moment.
Those moments feel good, and they come from clear storytelling, not from perfect grammar.
So, if your story is short, that is fine. If your vocabulary is simple, that is fine. If you needed to pause once or twice, that is also fine.
The story arrived, the connection happened. That is the whole point.
And maybe the next time, the story will be a little longer, a little more confident. But for now, the simple story is enough.
Luca, this was such a good conversation today. I feel like I want to go and practice telling a story right now.
Let us do it. We will tell one more story to each other after this.
Before we go, tell us in the comments, have you ever told a story in English and felt proud of it? Even a small one, we would love to hear it.
Even if it was just 2 sentences, tell us below. We read every comment.
And if this episode helped you, share it with someone who is also working on their English. It means a lot to us.
Thank you for spending this time with English Unlocked. Keep telling your stories. They matter in any language.
See you in the next episode.
Take care. Bye.